What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports Morning Show. I'm your host, Mangone. I'm here with Hoop. We're talking PGA, and listen, we were talking before the show. It's a pretty lame week. It's definitely one of those weeks that people, I think, are mailing it in. They're going to just plug in John Rahm, find some guys in the 7K range and just kind of move on. But hey, we're here at Run Pure Sports. We're grinding. We're going to get you those winners. That's what we do here. We got Hoop here with us. And what we're going to do today is we're going to go through and basically build out my player pool. So I typically do 50 lineups in that $5. You can do 150. You can do 100, however many you want. You can play it in lower stakes than that. You can go higher stakes into that $20. But I've just been practicing some MME, and we're going to go through, and Hoop does this every week. He does MME, and he's someone who used to not use an optimizer and now does. And we're just going to go through and pick out some players and how to approach it. And I do think this is a good event to have Hoop talk about it, because I think he's really good at times. It's just making these teams that are loading up on guys at the top. And if you do load up on John Rahm, which is definitely a conversation I'm kind of curious to have with Hoop about how to handle it this week, it definitely gets interesting because a lot of people are going to be on him and there's not a lot of pivots at the top. But Hoop, how are you doing? And how do you feel about this week? You've already done a couple shows. You already got the cash chart up. What's some of your thoughts here on this week?
Not a good start talking on mute, but these weeks obviously can be challenging. High variance. It's a very weak field event. You have John Rahm at the top. That's 3.5 to 1, 3 to 1 in some spots to win the event. That is very rare. You don't ever really see that. It's happened a few times in the last couple of years. And then after him, it's just, it's wide open. So you look at this field and there's not many guys that you could tell me would win this event and I would be surprised. It is wide open, which makes it tough to predict, which makes it tough to build teams. So, honestly, the thing that we always talk about with our people is, hey, this is not an event to go all in on. If you play for, $500 a week or $300 a week, maybe scale it back a little bit. The variance is very high this week. In PGA DFS in general, the variance is high, but there's a lot of outcomes at this event. And really it all starts with what you do at the top with John Rahm, who is a massive favorite, and based on his odds, he is way underpriced on DK. Probably could be 13,000 this week. He's 11.3. He's only $900 more expensive than the next guy in Tony Finau. So what you do with John Rahm really dictates everything in terms of roster construction, in terms of the guys that you get access to, in terms of what you do in this $10,000 range. So that's the big question. We'll walk through it. We did the show last night, went through player by player, me, AP, Snyder, that's here on the website, already posted there. It was last night, and then the guys are going live tonight to do the premium show. But this week is a highly volatile week. And like I said, it all starts with what you do, John Rahm at the top.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting conversation. We're going to go through and show you guys on Saberson kind of how some of the process of what we do. I'm sure Hoop will give his takes on how to handle it. So we'll screen share that so you guys can check it out. If you haven't signed up at Run Pure Sports, now's a great time to sign up. We got all the sports going on. You got PGA, you get NBA, MLB. There's just so much going on over here at Run Pure Sports. So go sign up now. You can also get the bets side along with SaberSim as well. Hoop, what's the price if you put everything together, all combined? It's normally $80 a month or $20 a week, but what's the full price if you get everything together?
Get everything Saber bets. I believe it's $165. I want to say for absolutely everything. Don't quote me on that, but it's in that range. And I apologize for the doorbell. Got the sprinkler guy here doing some work at the household, so apologize for the sounds here. But I believe it's $165 gets you everything.
All right. Well, if you haven't checked that out, definitely got to get in on that. It's definitely going to be good. And we're going to go through SaberSim and talk about how to handle it. Now, Hoop, do you have any, before we kind of really dive into building out the pool, do you have any advice how you handle? You've talked about it a bunch. You have that one show, the PGA show that we have on our YouTube channel. You haven't checked it out where you guys talk about the process of how you handle it. What are some quick tips for the people for building out a player pool?
Yeah, our boy Big T just put out a tweet about the PGA DFS content being stale and people doing the shows and podcasts, just the same shit week in and week out. And, that's where we're different here at Run Pure Sports. I mean, I feel like we get our people on the right path. I mean, you listen to a lot of the stuff in the industry, and they're telling you to play basically every guy. Like they're telling you, get access to this guy, get a sprinkle of that guy. I Run Pure, like we take stands, like we fade guys, we fade ranges, like and that's one way I think we're different than everyone else in the industry. And honestly, to me, that's the most important thing. Like you can't have what is it, FOMO, fear of missing out. Like PGA DFS to me is like that you can use that perfectly. Like you can't have that fear. Like fade a guy if he crushes you. Guess what? There's always next week. There's showdown to work hard at and find some showdown winners. So you can't be afraid of missing out on a guy that potentially wins. You have to take some stands. You can't play every guy. It's a game of leverage. Getting in, leverage. If you're new to PGA, it just means getting over the field on the guys that you're highest on. So if you want to play Jon Rahm this week, just know he's probably going to be 37, 38%. Don't play Jon Rahm at 20% this week. You're not doing yourself any favor. So if you play Jon Rahm, know that you got to play a lot of Jon Rahm. Now, if you fade Jon Rahm, you're immediately going to be different than the rest of the field because a lot of the field is going with Jon Rahm. Now, I will say, we talked about on the show last night, if you do choose to fade Jon Rahm, I don't hate the idea of just fading the entire 10K range because the people that do fade Jon Rahm are going to say, okay, I'm not playing Rahm, but I'm going to play someone else up here. And then they're going to sell themselves on one of these other 10K guys that are really, really overpriced. So we'll talk about it all, but just the general sentiment, the general point, I think that's so important for PGA DFS is don't be afraid to just fade guys. Don't be afraid to fade ranges. Take your stands, get overexposed on your key guys, and build your teams that way.
Yeah. One thing I'll mention, Hoop, that I think this has helped me build out my player pool. I don't know if you do this. I know you're good at getting a tight pool and going overweight on guys. Sometimes when you build out teams, it's harder when you have the entire pool in there to take guys out. So you know what I do, Hoop? I just take them all out. So I literally just start with 0. So I have no one in my player pool. That way I don't have I don't get the FOMO of, man, you know what? A sprinkle of Gary Woodland would be a great idea. You know what I mean? I don't that just doesn't happen with that.
Yeah, I do it the opposite way, but actually your point, the way you do it actually makes sense because it's harder to click someone out than, click on the guys that you want. So that is a good point. I like that idea. Maybe I might switch up my process because it does make a ton of sense to do it that way.
I like it a lot. Now, the one thing I will do sometimes is I don't do it for every sport because I think some sports it's a little different, but PGA, I feel pretty confident in doing it this way. But it's just one of those things where I think some people, they have trouble. I'm someone, you just got to know how you are. I have trouble getting rid of some guys from the pool. So that was my best way to figure out how to do that. So that's kind of what I do in my process. The only thing that people get frustrated about, you just got to make sure you don't get frustrated about it, is if there's a guy that does really well and you're like, man, I probably would have had him in my pool. I'm mad I kicked him out. It's well, that's why you're doing this the way you are. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let's talk about Rahm though. You mentioned him. Jon Rahm, here's a tweet from Andy Lack. Tambo put it in his, he puts all these tweets out that has a bunch of tweets of people talking about PGA DFS stuff. And he said, Jon Rahm's starts in the last 2 years with the strength of field lower than 400, 14th at the Amex, missed cut, 17th, and then a 38th. So Hoop, what are you doing with Jon Rahm? My initial lean was to not play Jon Rahm because I thought Jon Rahm's just going to be overowned, don't need to play him. A lot of the times when I get sometimes we have NBA slates for playoffs, right? Where there's only one guy at the top and everyone's playing him. So if everyone's playing him, I only need one of those guys to do really bad. Now, if it's 4 studs that are getting a lot of ownership and we have a lot of value in NBA and all those guys are going to be 30%, someone's going to probably crush and do well. There's only one guy it feels like I really have to fade at the top that I'm scared of. It's not a loaded field. So my lean was to fade him, at least when I build these out. Now, I'm curious to hear what you have to say on it. Maybe the ownership's going to be different. I saw Big T had a tweet. He's I could see Jon Rahm not being owned, and then I could see him being really high owned. It could go either way. So what's your overall thoughts?
He's going to be the highest owned. I don't think there's I think that's very clear. What that number is could vary, but I think it's probably going to be the high 30s. And I see the arguments to fade him. I mean, the quote you just had there where, in these weaker field events, he hasn't been great. He has not been great overall recently. I mean, he's been, playing probably the worst golf he's played in the last couple of years. So I think there are a lot of guys in this spot that have been this big a favorite, 3-1, 3.5-1, 4-1, typically have not performed all that well in general. So I think there are arguments to fading Jon Rahm. I really do. But for me personally, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, I've just been playing Jon Rahm every week. And honestly, it's cost me a lot of money lately playing Jon Rahm. I mean, it has not been good when being overexposed to Jon Rahm week in and week out. And in the past, Jon Rahm has treated me really well. So I think overall, long term, I'm up on playing Jon Rahm. But in the short term, I'm definitely down. I just can't get out now. Like I have to keep playing this guy. So for me, I'm in just because of the fact that I've been playing him. And this is a unique circumstance where like Jon Rahm could get like 15th and still be a guy that you probably need in your lineups, because there could be like, 5 guys under 8K that end up being in the top 10 of this event. I mean, it's just so volatile. The range of outcomes is massive here. So if Jon Rahm comes in and finishes 15th and a bunch of cheaper guys are at the top of this leaderboard, he's still a guy that you're going to have to probably have in your lineup. So I'll be in on Jon Rahm. I know what I need to do because of what the projected ownership is. I'm guessing probably 35, 36, 37%. Like if Jon Rahm was crushing it lately and playing so well, that number probably gets into the 40s, but the fact that he has not been playing all that well will keep his ownership in check, I think, this week. So it's enough for me to say, hey, I've already been playing this guy. I don't think, and we don't see, I guess the best point was Tambo. I don't know if he brought up on Twitter or Discord, but like guys in PGA DFS don't get over 40% typically. So I think upper 30s is the number where he'll end up. I have to be in on him because I've been in on him all year. Can't go back now. So that's kind of my position on Jon Rahm this week.
Yeah, I think it depends what stakes you're at too. If like the lower the dollar amount, the lower the ownership will be, and it'll go up as it goes up. Couple of questions in chat. With Jon Rahm's history in the weaker tournaments, do you fade him in head to head? My take would be, if you're fading Jon Rahm this week, play tournaments. Like, don't even worry about head to heads. Would you agree, Hoop? Like, I would just play him in head to heads.
So like head to heads, 50-50s, double ups, you play Jon Rahm. I put the cash chart up. It's a premium product at Run Pure Sports where, I just list all the guys that I think are in play for cash and then highlight the guys that are kind of like the core plays. And he's a highlighted core play on both FanDuel. I think you just play him. If like you said, if you want to fade Jon Rahm, play tournaments this week. Don't play head to heads, because even if Jon Rahm gets like 20th or something, like he's still a guy you're going to need in 50-50s and head to heads, I think, this week, just because how weak this full upper tier is. So yeah, if you're looking to fade Rahm, I wouldn't be playing 50-50s head to heads. Just make a tournament team and go about it that way.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, if you could like and subscribe to the video, it helps us out a ton over here at Run Pure Sports. We would appreciate it. Also want to mention we got some schedule changes today. 3 p.m. will be the Pin Seeker show here on the YouTube channel, and it'll be free. So be sure to check that out with Big T, Tambo, and Uncle T. Sorry. I think it's going to be premium. So I don't know. Simon, what is it, premium or is it free?
Premium.
All right, you guys know Big T. He changes his mind a bunch, so it's premium.
Hey, another reason to sign up though, Run Pure, so you can watch that show at 3.
Yeah, so watch that at 3. 4:45 MLB Swing for the Fences show, and then probably 6 o'clock. I assume could be 6:30. You never know when they change it up, but they'll be on until 7:30 because that's when NBA locks. So they'll be breaking down the NBA. Maybe they jump on at 6. We'll have to see, but they'll be breaking everything down. I'm sure they'll talk some MLB as well. So be sure to check that out. And here's actually the question. Chris says he's got a head-to-head ticket for the championship so it's for a championship ticket. So play Rahm in that, right, Hoop? Yeah, that's not how you want to go down. So that makes
most likely your opponent is playing Rahm, just play him, and you're going to be 5 versus 5. Like I can't imagine someone's going to fade Rahm. You just play him and pick 5 other guys, because that's where your differences are going to be.
And listen, if he doesn't play him, how happy will you be in your championship?
You'd be thrilled. You'd be thrilled. You get the 3-1 guy in this event, and your opponent doesn't have him. That's a position you would love to be in.
Yeah, for sure. We got some, so fire some questions in the chat. I saw you put that in there, so that's good. We also got, people saying, I hope people talk themselves out of John Rahm. So let's do this, Hoop. Before we run everything, let's let's plan on a Rahm fade. I want to see like how that plays out. I want to see like how that works with our player pool, or when I build this out myself with you. Now, decisions have to be made. And I was going to I saw Tambo put on Twitter, which guy are you playing in the 10K range if you fade Rahm? And for me, it was Answer or Finau. But I'm intrigued because I haven't listened to the show that you talked about last night yet. So what is the strategy of fading the 10K guys? Like, talk about that for me, because that's something that I hadn't thought through too much. And I was like, okay, let me hear out this process.
See, the thought process behind that, I think, is, okay, if people do fade Rahm, they're going to sell themselves on some 10K guys. And I'm not really all that interested in the 10K guys. Like Patrick Reed for sure is like a no. Like 10K Patrick Reed, like no thanks. I think length is going to be an asset at this course. I think you're going to need to be long. So I can easily get off Kevin Na. I can easily get off Answer, who I think still might potentially be a little bit injured, and in 10-3 for Answer. And I think he will get owned because people are going to play the Mexico narrative. Obviously he's Mexican and playing in Mexico, so people are going to play that narrative. I'll pass on that. And one guy I do have interest in, I think either way, is Tony Finau. He has not been great. Obviously it's been a rough start to the season for him, but at an easier type course where length is necessary, this is a spot he could get it going. So either way, I think I have interest in Finau. But like I said, people that fade Rahm are going to play some of these guys. So I think it's an interesting move just to not play any of them, go down to the 9K range where I think there are some options, and go that route. So you're fading the entire 10K range. You're immediately going to be way different on all your teams. Just a strategy. I don't think you have to do it. But like I said, after Rahm, I do have interest in Finau, but those other three, I can easily find a way just to not play those other three guys.
Yeah, and Chris in the chat said, thoughts on recent course history? There is no course history.
No.
First time here. So, that's another thing about it. I like the Finau, play a lot. He's the guy if I had to pick there because I like his length. He's been playing better too. And the dude can't putt. And, at these type of events where, I'm blanking on it, but kind of like the resort courses, they're called, right?
Yeah.
That's where, it turns into, you can, I know they talk about, if you get hot, you got to get hot with the putter at these places.
You got to make putts. But it's easy to make putts because the greens are going to be slower. These guys on slower greens can crush. I mean, bad putters can make putts on slower greens. So it kind of levels out that playing field on the putting surface, and makes it easier to putt. So yeah, that's the mindset there.
Yeah. And Chris, one thing you can look at, and I agree with you, I think he's talking about, is guys who play good at resort courses. I think if you've seen guys that play well at some of these, it makes sense. But keep in mind, some of these resort courses you've seen, the strength of field is pretty weak. Now, yes, this is not a strong field, but some of those are kind of almost Corn Ferry Tour events. So just keep that in mind a little bit too. But we got some other questions in the chat. As we kind of get down in that range, I'll definitely answer those. But so Hoop, let's say we don't play anyone in the 10K range. It sounds like you and I both agree on the Finau thing. So if I put someone
Finau.
in the
let's keep Finau in there.
Cool. So we'll put Finau in the pool. I'm down. I want to talk about this 9K range because I've seen some guys talk up Woodland, and Woodland feels expensive, but Woodland's been playing a lot better golf. I know Cameron Tringale feels like he crushes these really lame events, but man, Tringale has been frustrating for me a little bit this year. So I don't know what to do with him. And it feels like a really 9-7 just feels like a lot for a Cameron Tringale. So torn on that. Munoz too. It's the dude, sometimes I can get him at 6-9 and now I'm paying 9-8 for him. I would rather just get up to some of these other golfers instead, which I'm sure a lot of people are thinking. Aaron Wise is someone I think isn't bad here, or Chris Kirk. Kirk's been playing great golf. Aaron Wise, one thing to like about him, if it's a birdie fest, Aaron Wise thrives at birdie fest. So he's someone I think we could put into the pool that I would not mind. Brandon Todd feels a little lame for a birdie fest for me. A Cam Champ definitely could pop off, but there's obviously a low floor there. Who are some of the guys in the range you like here? Because for me, I think it's Chris Kirk, Wise, and Woodland are three of my favorites.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Chris Kirky. I don't know. I'm really kind of playing this, long off the tee narrative this week, and I don't know if that's right or wrong. Honestly, there's no course history here. We don't know. We have no idea what to expect. But some of these holes, a lot of the par fives or a lot of the par fours are around 500 yards. So, at the top, I think Woodland is a fine option. We talked about on the show last night. he has had some solid finishes. He's had some missed cuts though, but that's what you want in GPPs. You want guys when they make the cut, they're going to finish at the top of the leaderboard. His last 4 made cuts, 5th, 21st, and 8th. You'll gladly take that. So I think Woodland is a strong option here. The other guy that I think is interesting, if you're playing the bomber narrative, is Cameron Champ, longest guy off the tee. On tour, there's really no penalty or not much penalty for not missing the fairways. And in general, the fairways are going to be hard to miss. I mean, they look to be very, very wide. I think he's probably pretty low owned because, again, sticker shock here, 9.4K for Cameron Champ is not something we typically do. I think he's a guy to look at here. I like the Wise call. I mean, I had high hopes for Wise coming into the season. They really haven't realized because it just hasn't been great. But like you said, like these are the events where Wise can pop, these birdie fest, weaker field type events. I think he's a strong option. And then Tringali, I'm a Tringali guy. I'm a sucker for Tringali, so I'm kind of always on him. Yes, 9.7 is not a great price tag for Tringali, but he's been golfing a little bit better lately. And these are the sort of events, again, that you want him at, the easier, weaker field type events. So interested in him. Some of these guys at the bottom scare me a little bit, like Todd, if you are playing the bomber narrative. And like I said, I don't know if that's right or wrong. This course is probably easy enough where you don't need the bombers, but I think they do have an advantage. So like the guys at the bottom of this range, kind of I'm out on for that reason, like Todd, Knox. Still deciding on Streelman. I know last night Snyder was high on Streelman. I don't know, man. Like I don't know if I want to play Streelman this week. He has had some nice finishes prior to that RBC cut, 18th, 7th, 22nd. Maybe I bring him in the player pool. Undecided on him, but definitely out on Matt Jones.
Okay, well, so far from our conversation here, I'm not doing Tringali for now. Yeah. Maybe I'll get back to it. One thing I'm going to do, I'm going to run everything like once we're done here. And then what I'm going to do later tonight is I'm going to pull like some of the odds from like this site and I'm going to look at Vegas odds to like make my final decisions on everything just to see what the movements have been. So if Tringali's has moved like a big amount since like the Open, that like gets me excited maybe, but I know he opened at like a pretty interesting line. It was like 22-1 or something.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are in that like 20-1, 25-1 range. Basically anyone outside of Rahm is kind of in that range.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what his has moved around to. So, but I'm putting Woodland in for sure. I think that's good. I know you weren't as high on Kirk. I don't need to put him in. I'll put Wise. I like the Champ conversation as well. I thought that was good. The one thing about this event that I think I noticed when I was reading, and one reason why Rahm might be a little better here is he hates Birdie Fest because he's terrible with his wedges, but this is a longer course where it's like those longer irons more come into play. So we might want to look. I know you're saying you don't know what kind of course we could maybe be seeing. That's where like a Tringale might come into play, right? Or like a Kirk where they could be a little bit better than normal ones because it's just not like using your wedges as much. That's probably why Snyder likes a Streelman a little bit because he's longer off the tee. I'm okay. How many guys do you think we need in this 3K range? Like, is those 3 fine or in that 9K range? Are those 3 fine or should we add any more?
We like to make the stands. Like we're not gonna tell you to take sprinkles. That's the term that just drives me freaking nuts. Listen to this. Oh, I'm gonna get a sprinkle of him. That just means they're not fading anyone. So if we don't like someone, we just fade. Yeah, if you could get it down, if you can get it down to 3 guys in this range, I mean,
you're four above 9K. That's pretty good, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Like you're definitely going to have some big time leverage spots by doing that. So yeah, I mean, even like for me, if I'm 50-50 on a guy, just cut him. Like just cut him and move on. Like you're better having the smaller player pool. So yeah, that's definitely a good number.
One thing I'll do too sometimes, like if I do take some pretty strong stance at the top, then maybe I might sprinkle a little bit in the 7K range then at times, just because
yes.
I think I've made some aggressive stance.
Yes, that's a good point. Like the very cheap guys at the bottom, they're like 1% and 2%. So yes, when if you say sprinkle, you can use the term sprinkle down there because all you need to do is get like 5 or 6% and you're like triple the field. So those situations are much different.
All right, let's talk about this 8K range. I saw some Thigale questions in the chat. And if you guys have questions, please fire away. Where's the Thigale one? I got to find that so that way we can.
Yeah, Thigale or Ortiz. Like I'm on Thigale this week. I think he can take advantage, long off the tee. He played very well in some of those weaker field events. I think he has the upside. I don't think he'll be all that highly owned either. So definitely Thigale. I'm not I'm not going Ortiz. Ortiz has been so bad. I think he does get ownership. These guys from Mexico, I think, are going to get increased ownership. Ortiz hasn't made. He's missed 4 straight cuts. Best finish basically this year is like 33rd. So whatever. If Ortiz beats me, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, one thing I want to let you, I want to find in Tambo. Tambo, he's got this great set of tweets where he posts a bunch of the content that people just around the industry talk about stuff. And he posted the tee times. And one thing I do remember about Answer, and I want to see when's the early tee times. I know Abe Answer is a big fan of starting early. Like if you can get Abe Answer with like an early tee time, he said it reminds it because when he played on the event in Arizona, and he had early tee times. And this is a good note for Showdown. Whenever he plays on like these like West Coast or like these desert type courses, when Abe Answer gets an early tee time, he said it reminds him when he played as like a kid, right? And like at like the like early in the morning and going out and playing. And that's kind of some good vibes to go out there and like play and give you like that nostalgia. So yeah. I will say Abe Answer, maybe I'd look at him a little bit. If you're interested and it's like a lean for you and he has the early tee time, that would kind of have me a little bit interested in him. I know someone was talking about Answer in the chat, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. People are asking how we feel about Wise. I like Wise a lot. Yeah. We put him in the pool. Coop, it sounds like you're going to be pretty overweight on Wise. You'd agree?
Yeah, I mean, I'm Wise. I mean, he is going to pick up some ownership here, but I don't think it'll be that crazy. I mean, I think that the highest owned guys in that, outside of Rahm are probably like 20-ish%. So easy to get overweight. I'm Wise. I mean, like I said, I was high on him coming into the season. Been relatively disappointing, but I think this is like a really good for some, like a lot of these guys that, are having a disappointing season. I think this is a great spot to potentially bounce back, like Tony Finau as well, kind of in that category.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Antonio says he tees off at 1:18 or whatever. I don't know what time that is, but it's obviously not the early. Maybe it's 11:18. But the one thing I'll say is maybe Showdown round 2. Maybe it's worth taking a shot if he looks okay, right? You get to at least see if he doesn't WD with that back or anything like that. But we're going to put Thigale in the pool. I think Aaron Rai is like a talented young guy just to buy in on. 8-7 feels expensive, but like, dude, I'm not paying 9-8 for Sebastian Munoz, right? Like, I think you're going to have to overspend in spots at first.
Yeah, it's like anyone you mention, you're going to say, okay, you're going to feel that the person, anyone you look at, you're going to feel like, okay, this guy's overpriced. But, that's just the nature of this field. You got to get over it. So, yeah, I mean, if you like a guy like Rai, I think that's fine. Mark Hubbard's a guy of interest in here at 8K flat. Solid cut maker. I like him in weaker field events. I think he's interesting. Another guy that's flashed with some upside, Davis Riley. I mean, really, you're looking for guys with upside, guys that have shown the ability to contend. And Davis Riley did that at the Valspar. I mean, he ended up finishing second, but hey, if Riley gets us the top 10, top 5 here, we're taking it and running. So I think he's a guy to consider in this range. Not a ton that I really like here in this 8K range. So probably only, 2 or 3 guys for me here.
Yeah, so I'm down to put Davis Riley in. He was someone I was going to mention. Again, I like buying, like one thing I really like to do early in the year, and I still think we're like early enough in the year where like just buying on these young guys, right, that are going to pop. And these are the events to do it at too as well. So, and you're running out of time to do it for some of them, but I like him. I like the Mark Hubbard call. The reason I like Mark Hubbard, and yes, I feel like I'm overpaying at 8K. We already talked about it. You're going to feel like you're overpaying for guys, but he's really good at some of these like birdie fests because he's a good putter. So I like Hubbard. I'm going to put him in the pool. Another guy I'm going to add, and I think it's just someone that I've been playing a bunch, and I'm sure once I look at Snyder's content or when I get on the bet show with him tonight, I'm going to see, and you can tell me and confirm, is he on Taylor Moore? I feel like he's on Taylor Moore a lot.
What do you think? You even need to ask that question?
No, it's Taylor Moore is like the new Matt McNeely, right? Like from like a year or two ago. So.
Yeah, but Mav's actually like good, and this Taylor Moore guy sucks. Uncle T was in the chat trying to get action against Snyder on Taylor Moore versus I think basically anyone. So yeah, I'm not on Taylor Moore. It is one of Snyder's boys though, and maybe he needs a little more time because a lot of Snyder's guys have come full circle, but I'm not there on Taylor Moore.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna put him in. If I need to take someone out, maybe he'll be like the last guy out. And here's the other thing: let's say you build a pool out to 40 or 50, or maybe even like 60, and you're like, man, I have a lot of guys in here. Well, it's easier to take guys out when it's 60 and not clicking out on like 140 guys or however many are in the field. Like it's a ton of guys to click out. So that's why I just do it from this way. Let's talk about some of these other high up 7K guys. let's see who else can pop up here that I'd be interested in. Like, I know Smotherman's interesting. Adam Long, I don't hate. Someone talked about Chad Ramey in the chat. Not a lot of guys I'm super excited about. I always like playing Wyndham Clark because of his upside, but we know his downside can be brutal too. Yeah. Who are some of like the high 7K guys that you're liking?
Yeah, you're going to have to play some of these guys. I mean, it's like there's not much difference between these guys and some of like the 8K guys or even 9K guys. My favorite here is Adam Long. We talked about on the show last week, playing solid golf. I think he has a chance to really compete this week. I mean, he's made 5 out of his last 6 cuts, 32nd, 35th, 12th. So he's had some pretty solid finishes in relatively strong fields too. So he's my favorite up here. I do like Wyndham Clark. Again, the bomber narrative. I think he can really get it going at this course. Definitely interested in him. Smotherman's a guy I've been playing quite a bit. JT Poston, been playing JT Poston 7.5K. He has some solid finishes lately. I mean, he third at the RBC Heritage. Again, a much stronger field than this one. Lipsky's another guy that we were all kind of on last night. I think he's in play. So yeah, I think if you are going light, which your player pool right now, you have a lot of flexibility because you faded so many guys. Like loading up in the 7K range, I think is a pretty good idea.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a bad idea to do that. I'm kind of sorting now to just see like what guys maybe pop here that like I haven't thought of. I definitely thought Long was a good one. I know people talked about Ramey. Looking at some of Ramey's like recent stuff, it just doesn't look good. A guy that you didn't mention that I kind of like who's been playing a little bit better is Lahiri. Like, and I don't know if people will really play Lahiri here. I mean, I think he could easily do well here. I mean, he got second at the Players, which wasn't too long ago, and then Valero, Texas got 13th, and RBC got T66, but like. Hey, I don't know. I think Lahiri is like an interesting guy that maybe people won't go to. That he has been playing some decent golf, so I might toss him in there because again, we do talk about we have some flexibility here in this range. I liked the Poston call, so let's put in. I'm not doing Ramey. I'm going to do Lahiri. Lipsky, you talked about him. I'll throw him in there. I played him last week with what's his name? David Skins in the combo, and he was with Skins. Who was he?
What? He did well at that event, though. I can't remember.
Oh, he was with Aaron Rye. That's who he was with. He was with Aaron Rye. So, that works for me. I like Poston. Last year's another guy. I'm going to toss him for now. I can't remember where I was like, listen to something and sound like he had some good stats or something. So I'll toss him in there for now. Let's keep going. Grayson Sig is someone I've been playing a bunch, this year. I think he's someone that you've been on a little bit. I saw some questions in the chat about Adam Svesson, so definitely talk about him. Hoop, I've played him a ton, so I'm going right back to Adam Svesson. Yeah. I don't know if he's going to be high owned or if he's, he's someone that's, I feel like people like seen this name a ton and he's been popping a little bit. I don't care. I'm just still going to play him. It doesn't matter to me. So I'm playing Svesson. Who are some of these like lower 7K guys we can sprinkle in here?
Yeah, again, a lot of our guys down here that we've been playing, I mean, Svensson, I've played a ton, and it just comes down to, can this guy make a putt? He's been solid off the tee, really good with his irons. He just can't putt. It's a perfect event for guys that just can't putt because it's going to be easier to make putts this week. Now you're going to have to make a lot of putts to win this event. Give me some Svensson for sure. I mean, whenever I see this guy, he's putting it to like 5 or 6 feet and just missing the putt. I think he can get those to go this week. I agree on Sig, a guy that's made a lot of cuts, had some solid finishes. I do like Sig. Stewart, interested in. Tyler Duncan, we talked about last night. I believe Snyder was really high on him. My boy Nick Taylor at 7-1. Definitely interested in Nick Taylor. If you're playing on FanDuel, Nick Taylor is 7K flat, the minimum price. Love Nick Taylor. On DraftKings, he's 65-1 to win this event, and he's the stone minimum on FanDuel. So great play over there. Joseph Bramlett's a guy that hits it long off the tee. Obviously we're getting to some volatility down here with these guys. I mean, this whole field, there's a lot of volatility, but Bramlett long off the tee. I think he has a chance to have a good week here. And then another guy that's been playing pretty well recently, Robert Streb, 7K. And the recent results, he, 2 out of his last 3 cuts he's made. Valspar 7th, 42nd at the RBC Heritage. I think he can make the cut here and get us a good finish. So Robert Streb's another guy that I have some interest in.
It's been a while since I played some Robert Streb. I put him in for now, Hoop, but he's definitely one of those guys that could get kicked out first, right? If the pool's too big or anything like that. I'm going to put Grillo in. I like playing Emiliano Grillo. Definitely a golfer I like to get exposure to. And I think this is an event like I do like those no putt ones. So that's definitely one I think I can get exposure to. Trying to see, I clicked on some of the guys. We didn't talk about Pat Perez. Do you have interest in Pat? The one thing I like about Pat Perez is he kind of understands like, hey, like I'm older. This PGA Tour, like I need to be smart about the events I go to. And like, if he wants to keep his card, he's got to do well at these crappy events. So I think I'm going to get on some Pat Perez here. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm currently off of Pat Perez, a guy that I could be talked into. I still got to, do my teams this afternoon, do a little bit more research. Currently off of him, but yeah, I could see the argument for playing Pat Perez.
Yeah, I'll put him in for now. Again, I feel like we don't have too many guys in here. So got him in there now. Let's see. I know you talked about Bramlett. It's hard for me to click Bramlett after last week with Nav, but I'm sure it's hard for a lot of people. So if you want to throw him in there, I think there's a lot of upside. But
that had to be the worst group last week, like by far.
Horrible.
That's actually, I was trying to figure out why I did so bad last week. Makes sense because I had like 40% of that team.
Yeah, they were pretty painful. So, oh man, I definitely didn't like that. Now we're getting down to some 6K guys that like, hey, they're always in this range. So I don't feel like I'm overspending. Like I got Pistol Pete in there, Uline at 7K. Vaughn Taylor, who I know you like to get exposure to. Yeah. I sometimes like Ryan Armour. I feel like he can do well at these courses.
I'm on Armour. I'm on him. Yeah.
Okay, you're on Armour. That's good. So who are some of the other 6K guys you're interested? Like Hayden Buckley down there. Like,
there's
a bunch of guys to go to, but I also don't have to load up on this range too, because like, I don't know, I don't have a lot of guys at the top. And then once we run it, we'll be able to see what the optimizer has done with the pool. And then we can make some tweaks as well.
Yeah. This range, the drop off is substantial. I mean, a lot of guys down here that honestly I've never heard of. So it's never a good sign. Ideally, you want to, and most of your team's probably in that 7K range, but you come down here, you name a lot of the guys that I'm interested in: Armour, Vaughn Taylor, Vince Whaley, Buckley. I think is a guy that has some upside at 6.8K. Do really like him. Coming down. Someone asked about Robert Garrigus in the chat. If they can finish their cash team with Garrigus. I'm cool with that. I'm fine going with one punt to make everything work in cash. Like, if he makes the cut, you're sitting pretty. If he doesn't, it does not necessarily kill you. So I'm fine this week taking a full punt in cash, as long as it gets you, some nice upgrades, but know what you're getting yourself into. I mean, Garrigus has made all four cuts this year on the PGA Tour. Obviously, some of the weaker field events, but I'm fine with Garrigus at 6.6. Kevin Tway is a guy that I'm willing to take a chance on. 6.5K, hits it long off the tee. He's been a disaster lately. I mean, he's been really, really bad. And then like my boy Werenski, like in a weak field event, I have to play Werenski, and the results haven't been all that bad. 2 out of his last 3 cuts made, 21st, 48th. So he's another guy to consider. Let's see if there was anyone else. I mean, it gets bad really quick. So, I'll have a few more for my 150 just to make everything work. But the ones I mentioned are definitely my favorites.
Yeah, and again, we don't have to like load up on these guys, and I don't mind the full punt thing. I will say, for some reason, to start this year, and like that's not typically what's happened. My most successful lineups, when I've like done like my one lineup, it's been like just like straight up punting and grabbing everything else. It's been my best team.
I mean, and people are afraid to do that, honestly, in a lot of formats. People, I think, when they build their teams, they just cross off the 6K range no matter what.
Yeah, I know like Paul Barjohn's down there. I know people have talked him up a little bit this week. I'm just trying to see. I'm looking at some stats to see if like something pops, because sometimes I feel like I can find something that's interesting, but I don't know, not a lot that I'm loving. And I'm sure a lot of people like that. Like Hayden Buckley, like you said, I liked him, but Armour's fine. Armour's probably the guy that I like the most in that range. But again, it's not the sexiest range, which people definitely cross off. And I don't think we have to like load up on these guys here. Did you have Vaughn Taylor in there, Hoop? Should I put him in?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Vaughn Taylor's my guy. I got to play him at this event.
Adam Schenk. What about him? I know
Shank. There's a question in chat about Shank. Yeah. I don't know. Like he's a guy, like when I play him, he sucks, and he's honestly sucked lately. So it's easy for me to like just not play him. So I like too many other guys in this upper 6 where I can't play everyone. He's going to be a cut for me.
And one more guy that was mentioned in the chat that I don't think we talked about was CT Pan. Do you have any interest in him? I know he's in like the 8K range.
Yeah.
And I might be able to add a guy in the pool in that range. It could be possible. He's at 8-1. And he's been, I mean, looking at the recent stats, he's been good at everything but putting, which I don't think he's ever good at. And off the tee's been a little rough, but all the accuracy's been good and everything like that. What's your thoughts on CT Pan?
Yeah, the guys last night were a little higher on him, Snyder and AP. He's a guy that's a borderline play for me. Like if I need some more guys in that lower 8K range, I'll definitely play some Pan. But Snyder and AP were pretty high on him last night.
All right, let me grab CT Pan. I think I can afford one more guy in here. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go on a saver. And if you haven't
quite well, I just pulling this up. I mean, actually really good. 5 out of his last 6 cuts made, 9th, 16th, 48th, 41st, 42nd. Yeah, I think I'm gonna bring Pan back into the player pool.
All right. So far, I know there's a way. I'm sure there's a way to do it in saver where you can actually like know how many golfers, but I have what? 1, 2, 3, 4. Got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I got, let's see. I got like probably, I would say I have like 25 guys in the pool, which is a really tight pool. I mean, you don't have to run that tight of a pool. You can definitely do more. Let's just run it and see what we do. So go to build lineups here. I don't know why my screen's being odd, but there we go. So this is a mistake I made one week that like absolutely messed me up. I did not move up the min salary, which like I wish this would just be bumped in general, but I'm going to bump this up. I'm going to put it to like 49,000. I mean, I think you could leave 1,000 on the table and it's fine.
That's a good number. This week you could leave more, I'd say, but I mean, most weeks, I mean, you see the optimal lineups are typically 49-1, 49-2, 49-3. Like that's where the winning lineups have been most weeks. So this week could be different though, obviously, because of the unique nature of this field.
Yep. So I'm running 50 lineups. I'm running the pool size 500, and I'm going to let's do like 2 uniques. We'll make it 2 uniques. I think it will let me. Let's see. Yep. 2 uniques, and let's just run it and then see what the exposure is going to look like. So we'll run it now. This is what you can do on SaberSim. If you haven't signed up for Run Pure Sports, this is what you get when you sign up, and you get the optimizer as well as the add-on. So you should definitely do that if you have not. Also want to mention, like and subscribe to the video, guys. Helps us out a ton. We would appreciate it. If you have any other questions too, feel free to fire those in there. Hope we got one for asking about Appy Barn Rat, which man, I don't play him too much, but if there is an event to play him, I guess this would be the one.
Yeah, again, I believe AP was on him. I'm not super excited to play him. Probably a fade for me just because, the same thing with the last guy. Like, I have more interest in other guys in that range, and I don't want to play everyone.
Okay. Also, Chris says last 2 resort courses, Novak has gotten 11th and 22nd. So if you're looking to add in another guy in the pool, he could be one of them. And interesting when we run all this, Hoop. I'm surprised. So Thigale is popping at 66%. Then it's Ryan Armour, 50, 46% Gary Woodland. Wise at 38. I was thinking, based on everything that was built out, I was thinking Tony Finau would be like my highest on golfer. So I'm pretty surprised to see that. What's your thoughts here on this?
Yeah, so this is a situation where you have your teams here and you start to play around with things, and one way you can do it is to adjust projections. Like, okay, let's say you do like Finau, bring that number up. It looks like it's at 73. Bring it up a few points and see what it does. I'd definitely cap some of these guys as well, like Ryan Armour. You don't want your week to be dependent on what happens with Ryan Armour. So 55% Armour, or is that what it? Yeah, 50%.
I have 50%. So what would you like? What I would cap him normally at like 20. Is that correct?
Yeah, maybe even lower this week, just because to me, a lot of those 6.9K guys are so similar. Like Armour, Vaughn Taylor, we talked about. There's a bunch of guys down there that are similar. Maybe like 15 or something. I mean, to me, he's projected to be 2% owned. If you play him even at like 8, 9, 10%, you're going to be like way over the field on Armour. So if he does come out and treats you well, you're in good shape. It's a big leverage spot. So I would not want that much Armour, obviously.
So let's cap like the cheap guys, right? So I think that's the best thing to do right now to like get the player pool moving. So Grayson Sig, right? Cap him at what? Probably like 25 or
I'd be
maybe-
willing to do more on him than Armory at 20-25 range.
All right, let's do 20. We can always go back and change if we need to. And guys are just like going to continue to pop as we like put these down. Let's see. Are there any more like Lashley? Yeah, I'm going to cap him. I'm going to cap him at 20.
Yeah.
I think he's fine, but I didn't want that much. Pat Perez, 24%.
I could see that. Yeah, that one's fine.
That's still a lot. I don't know if I want to be that aggressive on him. Like I'm not like, I'm going to put him at 15 just because I don't know if I'm like want to take that aggressive of a stand on him. I'll just say that. Yeah. Let's see. I mean, so far I don't mind the way this is looking. The Finau thing is, so now Finau keeps going down. And I believe that's because we're capping all these other guys.
The cheaper guys. So I just bump his, I'd bump his projection.
Would you bump his projection or do you do like the min? Because sometimes I just do the min ownership.
I do both. It kind of depends, but yeah, you could go min. I'd bring, I mean, if this is a guy you like the most at the top, I mean, I'd bring him to like 80 and just see what that does. Let's take him to 80 and see what happens there. So
we do 80. He shoots up to 88%, which is
okay. All right. Then maybe bring it to the middle. Like,
that's a lot.
Yeah. Go like 76. And then if you're still really high number, you can, cap the ownership or cap the exposure.
Let's see. So at 76 put me. Let's see. So 76 put me to 52. Let's see what 75 puts me at. 75 puts me at 40%. I think that's good.
That's a good number, I think. Yeah, I like that number.
All right. The other thing though, like Adam Long at 52%, that feels like a lot.
Bring that down. Yeah, I'd bring that down.
All right. We'll bring it down to what? 25, 30? What's the move there?
Yeah, I'd say
that's mine.
He's projected ownership. Oh, so he's only projected to be 6. Yeah, like 25. Okay. He's a guy obviously I like a lot this week, so like I'm willing to play him a little bit more.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of CT Pan here. I think Wise is someone I like. Where like I'm gonna bump Wise a little bit because I think he's someone we've talked about a little bit, and I want to kind of get a little more exposure. I want him to shoot up some. So
yeah. I mean, the overall point here is no matter what optimizer you're using, don't just run your teams and plug them in, especially in PGA, because you can get some crazy exposures. You got to go through and make some of these changes, need some of your input, because also you're going to have a lot of similar lineups to people that are using the same optimizer. So you really want your own touch on the optimizer, and we have the videos and stuff on the website to kind of walk you through everything, but you really want your own personal touch on your lineup. So it is important to move some things around.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys are watching while I'm doing it right now, like I'm just kind of moving some stuff around just to see, and I'm barely moving the points. I like moved Wise from 72 to 73 to 72.5 and like just seeing what the mix gets me. And now I'm liking my at least exposure at the top. Like, I kind of like the Figali stand. What I might change is I might like bump like a Woodland or a Finau or even like a Wise over him and like move, like kind of change the 62% with like the 44 or the 42 or like the 42. But having like those 4 guys be my overweight guys, now I feel kind of comfortable with my setup. Do you agree, Hoop? Like that's a really nice core 4 that I think I'm pretty overweight on that I like.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing I'm talking about. Like you have a very small player pool for the contest that you're going to be entering. If your core guys hit come Sunday, you're going to be live with different combinations. And we always talk about that. You don't want to be, you want to be live on Sunday, but it's better to be live on Sunday with 4 or 5 different teams opposed to just all your eggs in one basket. When your core hits, you want it to pay off. And this is the best way to do it by keeping a small player pool.
Yeah. And one thing I noticed, Soup, as we built this out, I only have 4% Adams Fesson, and that's got to change.
That's got to change. Yeah, we got to bring that up. You have to bring that up.
So I'm gonna bump that to like, and I don't know what his ownership's gonna be, but I'm gonna bump it to minimum of 20. Right, that way I just get him. It just happens. Like, and I'm gonna tweak this later on too a little bit, but I think this is a good setup here. We got like a little bit more time. If you guys have any more questions, Antonio must have hopped in a little late, and he said, "Can you possibly fade Rahm?" And like, yes, I think you can fade Rahm. The reason I like fading Rahm a little bit this week is like, I think it's just one move I have to make that's going to get me like pretty different from everyone. And then on top of that, like he just hasn't been as great. And I think there's just so many reasons why. And I've been fading him. I haven't really played John Rahm in a long time. I haven't played Scotty Scheffler as much as I should have, but hey, I've been fading Rahm and it's been okay. I know you're the other way. You've played him and it hasn't worked out, but you're just like pot committed now at this point.
Yeah. There's a few strong arguments, I think, to fading Rahm this week, and that is enough where I think it's viable to do if you want to go that route. Like, you're not just fading him because, okay, he's going to be the highest owned guy and I want to fade him. There are arguments to fade him. Guys typically in this spot, 3-1, 4-1 to win an event, typically have not performed all that well. That's number one. Number two, Jon Rahm has not been playing all that well. Number three, I believe it was the American Express event that turned into just like a putting contest, and the scores were super high. Jon Rahm was very pissed. He walked off one of the greens and made the comment, oh, screw this birdie fest or screw this putting contest. Well, that's honestly probably what you're going to get this week is a putting contest. So there's more too. I mean, there's more ways to parse this. I believe that his history in weaker field events is not very good either. You quoted that early on in the show. So there's a few more arguments than just fading the highest owned guy as reasons to not be on Rahm this week.
Yeah. Someone said Reed to make top 10 this week. I don't think you're on that.
No.
What's your thoughts?
No, never. Guy, I mean, easiest fade on the board. Like, if you want to play Patrick Reed, have fun, but man, I can't imagine doing that.
Yeah. Also, if you guys haven't, there's some great underdog contests over there at Underdog. And if you don't have to be a member here at Run Pure Sports to use this code, but use the code Run Pure, get a $100 match deposit bonus. So be sure to do that. Hoop, one last thing I wanted to do before we get on out of here, which won't take too long. Let's go back to the homepage. Click home on SaberSim. And let's build out a single entry kind of team, right?
Yeah.
And let's build it out by fading Rahm. And let's what I like to do here is we can keep the two uniques on. Well, let's do this first. Who are three guys that we've talked about on this show in single entry that we think we should lock in on, right? That we should put as three guys that we no doubt are going to make as kind of a core and then see what it spits out. Who's one of the guys you'd nominate?
Let's go with guys that, we were both pretty high on throughout the show. I think, Rahm fade. I think we both felt pretty good with Tony Finau. So I think Finau's a guy to put in.
Agree.
And then if we come down to that next range, I think we were both pretty high on Aaron Wise at 9.5. So I kind of like starting there. If you go Finau.
Do you want to do maybe this is a little aggressive. I mean, I think we do we could try it, a Wise, Finau, and Thigale and just run it?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, we're going to have some 6K guys, which I'm fine doing. So, we still have 7.1K. So I'm fine with that. You play one super cheap guy, and then we'll be in that 7K range to finish off our team.
And I'll admit, I didn't love the high 7 K range. I think it's just a tough week for sure. Hopefully, I think we'll get our boy Svesson that I think both of us like. So we're going to run it with the single entry. I normally move it to lower fields because I'm playing the smaller fields with that. So 101 to 1,000 I'll run. And let's just see what it does. Let's do 15 lineups. The pool size we can shrink down to 300, or I'll shrink it down to 200 just so it's a little faster. Which again, I should have fixed the min salary. So we'll look at that to make sure, but I don't think we'll have that problem with jamming a bunch of guys, but that's something you have to do because it's unable to meet exposure. So what was the problem? Let's see. But there's enough teams where we can look through it. Probably didn't get them all. Probably because of the way the pool was set up and the amount of guys we locked, it wasn't able to run 200 lineups probably, which makes sense. But here's the first team: Wise, Finau, Thigale. And then we get Taylor, Streb, and Griot. I wonder if there's any Svesson teams. I don't know why he's not in there.
So here, I mean, I just kind of hand built one. You got Svensson. So if you add Svensson to that, you're sitting at 7K. So you can play, a 6.9K guy and then a 7.1K guy. We like Nick Taylor. So tasty build here. I'm going to play it. I'm definitely going to play it in something. So that core: Finau, Wise, Thigala, and Svensson. I like that start.
Yeah, I like that start too. I think the core of those four guys I really like. I'm definitely going to put Svesson and then just find the two other cheap guys to kind of get in there. Maybe it's a high 7K guy you like. Maybe you just punt all the way down to a really cheap 6K guy. I think it's definitely a really nice setup that I'm going to look at for sure. And based on kind of the exposures we built out, that's kind of some of the course there. Of course, I know you're going to have a different player pool. This is kind of a mix of yours and my thought process. You're definitely going to be higher, I think, on Rahm, it sounds like, than others. So, or not others than me. I'm sure you're going to have a nice player pool. If you want to check out Hoop stuff, you can check out the cash chart. We got tons of stuff over here at Run Pure Sports. We got the tiers that'll be up, the core plays in the playbook. So you don't want to miss out on that. But yeah, that's going to kind of wrap it up for us, Hoop. Final thoughts here before we get on out of here.
Yeah, unique week for PGA DFS. I guess back-to-back unique weeks because we had the team event last week, but very weak field. And you have a guy 3.5 to 1, 3 to 1 to win this event. The most important decision this week is what you do with Jon Rahm. And like I said in the opening, if you play him, you got to allocate a lot of ownership to him. If you fade him, you're immediately going to be unique. But I kind of like the idea of staying away from some of those other 10K guys if you do fade Rahm. So prize pools are big. I mean, prize pools are very big across the industry. So there's still money to be made. All our content should be coming out, this afternoon. The cash chart's up there. I think the guys are finishing. It looks like the playbook is now live on the website too. So the playbook, cash chart, there's some cores already posted, tiers already posted. So everything should be finishing up later this afternoon. And then the guys are going live at 3 to do the Pin Seeker show, which are a premium show. So you need to be a member at Run Pure to check that out this afternoon.
Yeah, be sure to check that out. I'm going to crank my tiers out. And I already have a good way of I'm going to do it. I think I already think I know each of my ranges. If you don't know what the tiers are, you just go to each tier. 10K range. Who's my favorite guy? What we talked about. I'm going to put Tony Finau. That's my guy there. 9K range. Who is the other guy? Aaron Wise. I'm tossing him in right now. Thigale. He's going to be the next guy I toss in there at that 8K range. And then I know my 7K range guy. It's probably Adam Svesson. I like him a lot, but I'm not going to put it in yet. I want to keep looking and figuring it out, but I really like this kind of setup. We talked about it on the show. That's going to be kind of my approach. If you want to check out Big T's player pool, that'll be on the site later on. If you want to see his approach on the premium show, be sure to watch that. I know I'm going to be doing that, but that is going to wrap it up for us, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. Don't miss out on tomorrow. We got a big MLB show because MLB, it's a Thursday. And typically the Thursday shows, Thursday, there's a lot of baseball, and me and DC will be on breaking down that. And then be sure to come back Friday. That'll be after the NFL draft first round. And I'll have JSU on talking about, what we've seen so far from the draft. Some guys who've been drafted on teams, maybe there's like a quarterback on a team. We'll talk about how that affects their fantasy. So be sure to check that out. We've also already have on the channel from yesterday, me and Bruce, we talked about the NFL draft and kind of some of the stuff we expect. We'll talk about maybe some bets that we like. So don't miss out on that. But thanks a lot for joining us, guys. For me, Mangone and Hoop, we'll see you guys later.